How are you, Mr. Lester?
There we go.
How are you, sir?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm
Good.
blessed.
Good, good.
Well,
Let me
I
adjust
want to.
here real
Okay.
quick because my lighting's a little dark. I see.
Uh,
Let me
all
just
right. All right.
all right. Well, that's a little better.
All right. Yeah, it's much better. It's much better. Well, thanks for coming on. Let it flow. Better you, a better me podcast. And I wanted to use this platform today to kind of educate a little bit about credit and how it's good and how it can be bad. And I know that's your expertise. So let me give a proper introduction. Uh, Mr. Paul Lester uh, uh, carries the expertise of dealing with credit repair. So I asked him to be on the show today to let's discuss it. We're dealing with the pandemic. We're dealing with people being affected
Yes.
across the board. Across the board. I know there are people that were established in credit, and now you know they're going through issues with that. What are you seeing right now at this time?
I'm seeing quite a few people who are in that exact position where they were doing pretty good credit wise, or they were working on some things, getting themselves together credit wise, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and it threw a monkey wrench in a lot of people's plans. I'm seeing people who are dealing with a mortgage and two car payments and several credit cards and something else like a boat or another vehicle or something along that line. And they're having to juggle a lot right now with credit. And we're seeing a lot of deferments right now on student loans. We're seeing a lot of deferments on house payments. And so a lot of people have been impacted credit wise through this pandemic.
Okay. Uh, you know, as we all know, the pandemic doesn't know race, color, creed. It doesn't. It's hit
That's true.
everybody. It's hitting
Hmm.
everybody. Uh, what would you say is one of the first steps in dealing with the creditors and just dealing with the issue at hand of going from I had good credit, now all of a sudden I've got this on my plate right now to where my credit is going bad. I'm losing things, my house, my car. I'm getting behind on my student loans. Uh, you know, at some point you got to say time out
Right.
and try to deal with it. What is your suggestion on that?
The first thing that I would say is to contact each creditor and see what programs, see what options, uh, see what um, programs that they may have,
Mhm.
because a lot of companies have set up some sort of mechanism to help deal with the pandemic and the effects of the pandemic on people's finances.
Mhm.
Companies understand that jobs have been really a touchy subject, and we know that the job market has been just totally volatile
Mhm.
in the last year to year and a half. Even before the pandemic, it was a little volatile. And so, what a lot of companies have done, because they recognize that all of these, as you said, there is not just hitting one particular demographic. It's not just hitting one group. It's hitting everyone. And these companies are realizing that it's hitting everyone, and that's who their customers are. everybody.
Everybody.
And so a lot of companies, a lot of creditors have set up mechanisms. They've set up programs to help people deal with the effects of the pandemic on their finances. So the first thing I would say is contact the creditors, and see what options that the creditors have. The next thing I would say is contact your particular state that you live in. Of course, here in the state of Indiana, where we live, there are programs that the state of Indiana has set up to help people with coronavirus relief. And so I would reach out to your local congressman,
Hmm.
reach out to the state of Indiana, and ask to see what programs are available, because a lot of the mechanisms that are in place are not talked about, or not talked about very much. And
Hmm.
so you may have to do a little digging to find those. And it's easier to find that information if you just contact the state of Indiana and just let the fine folks who work for our state government and our state administration lead you in the right path to getting you to the resources that you need to help you deal with this pandemic.
Okay. Uh, Without giving too much information, private information, that is, not that you would do that, but what are some of the common denominators that you see when people come to you seeking help? What are some of the common issues? Uh,
One of the biggest challenges, and I would say the two biggest challenges that I see with people. One, a lot of people have medical collections.
mhm,
It's just one of those things that happens to a lot of people, and it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what demographic. It doesn't matter. I deal. Most of the people I deal with are here from Indianapolis. Doesn't matter east side, west side. Doesn't matter if you're from Greenwood. Doesn't matter if you're from Avon.
right.
Doesn't matter. A lot of people are dealing with medical collections. The other thing that I see often is a lot of people are dealing with credit card debt. It is amazing how people will have anywhere from 8 to 15 different credit accounts, and they're drowning in credit card debt, credit account debt. A lot of
Okay.
people have, lines of credit and credit cards and all these different credit accounts, and high usage on at least half of the accounts.
Hmm.
So those are two common things that I see. Another common thing that I see is people are really at a point where, um, they made some mistakes years ago, and they're trying to uh, learn some new habits, learn some new disciplines, and
Hmm.
come out from under those mistakes. And they've done well for themselves
Hmm.
pretty much for the last 2 to 3 years. It's just that, that mistake they made, that car that got repossessed 4 years ago, or that credit account that got closed 3 years ago.
Hmm.
And now it's messing with them because now they're trying to get a house. Now they're trying to get financed for this, that, and the third. And
Right.
these things
Right.
are coming up now and causing them some problems. And so they're coming to me for help with those things and say, how do I deal with this? How do I address this, charged off account? How do I address this bankruptcy that is on my account? Because a lot of people are dealing with bankruptcies too. It's just it's a lot more common than people would probably realize. That
Hmm.
people have either filed a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. It's really really common, and a lot of people are now, even though they're able to do some things
Hmm.
credit wise, in the first 2 years or so, really within the first 6 months after a bankruptcy, they've come to some places where now they're dealing with the bankruptcy is preventing them from getting finance. So
Okay.
those are some the most common things that I see.
So when it comes to bankruptcy, would you say is there ever a good time to do bankruptcy? Is bankruptcy still that cloud that's over you? Do you ever get too far to where that's the best choice to go?
For some people, bankruptcy is the best way to go. For some people, it's never a good thing, and even in the most accommodating of circumstances, bankruptcy is still a horrible thing because a bankruptcy affects your credit for 10 years after it is discharged. Now, as I said moments ago, you can really within the first 6 months, credit card companies will start sending you offers within the first
Hmm.
6 months after your bankruptcy is discharged. So you can actually start rebuilding your credit, and people have been successful and rebuilding their credit within the first 2 years after the bankruptcy was discharged.
Okay.
But we've come to a place now where, as I said, bankruptcy is preventing people from getting finance for certain things. A lot
Hmm.
has changed in the credit world. And so I always tell people, and I have a lot of people that come to me and ask me, should they file bankruptcy? I always tell them, bankruptcy is the last resort.
Okay.
you
Okay.
you don't if you can prevent from filing bankruptcy, do that. I'm basically the guy who prevents a lot of people from filing bankruptcy because the truth of the matter is a lot of what people are facing,
Hmm.
we've been socially conditioned, even in the African American community, we have been socially conditioned to believe that bankruptcy is the answer, the immediate answer.
Hmm.
And, probably I would say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that may have been the viable solution. But so much has changed within the last 10 to 15 years. And really, a lot has changed within the last 5 years to where people now have multiple options to be able to rebuild financially, to be able to rebuild their credit and not have to necessarily resort to bankruptcy.
Okay. Let's swing back to the African American community. Would you say, with the lack of education, uh, the way a lot of people come up, single parent homes, credit is not talked about. Job security is not talked about. Building is not talked about.
Mhm.
Do you see a lot of that? Are you surprised by some of the things that people don't know that seems to be basic, but they just clearly don't have the knowledge of it?
I will say this. The fact that credit is not taught in school,
Hmm.
um, that affects everyone.
Hmm.
Um, the difference with the African American community is that, um, unfortunately, in our community, there aren't a lot of other resources or a lot of other avenues where you learn about credit,
Okay.
particularly within our culture. We don't really talk about credit in our culture.
Hmm.
As in our culture, we've been conditioned to believe that that's something that, um, you know, that's something white people have access to that we don't have access to, um, as a minority, and we've been socially conditioned to believe that. And so, everyone goes through the same challenge as far as this is not taught in schools, this is not taught in high school, this is not taught, in junior high. This is, and in most cases, not really taught in college.
Hmm.
And if it is taught in college, it's a very surface teaching as far as credit is concerned, but there are really no real mechanisms as far as in the education side
Hmm.
that properly teach people how to prepare to deal with credit in the real world. The difference in the African American community is that, unlike other cultures, we don't have any other place within our culture where we can consistently go to learn this information. And
Okay.
so it's been one of my personal desires to educate as many African Americans as possible, because again, a lot of what we have been socially conditioned to believe is we've been conditioned to believe that we don't need credit, that if
Okay.
we got cash, we can get it. And even in cases where we have to use credit, we still, and again, a lot of this is social conditioning,
Hmm.
um, where we will get, and I see this all the time, in the black community. Somebody will post a picture having just bought a Chevrolet Impala, and talking about I'm blessed,
Yeah.
but they're paying $500. They're paying $499 a month to drive that car. $499 a month. That looks suspiciously like 500 bucks.
Yeah, and don't even know the interest rate. They don't. They
Don't know
just
the
know they were
interest
able to
rate.
pull it.
They just know that they were to walk into the car dealership and walk out of there with that car. They're paying $499 a month for it. They're paying $575 a month for this car, and the car should be like $300 a month tops,
Right.
for that Impala. And it's because we don't know what we don't know. And
Well, I think
so,
another part of that is it's it's that thing of look the part to try
mhm,
and be the part.
yeah,
There are a lot of people looking the part, the big home, the nice car, uh, but behind the scenes, you know, this is in my mother's name. This is,
mhm,
so I see a lot of that. I hear a lot of that. And again, part of the reason for me starting Let It Flow, a Better You, a Better Me podcast is
mhm,
talking like yourself. Hope that we can talk again and do another segment because I know we can go on and on and on about this. And the common denominator of what I'm seeing is just information. The
yep,
the the knowledge is just not there. So we need to get that out there. Uh, Even myself, I know I graduated high school in 1985. Today, the day after graduation, I got a job at Ellis Ayers downtown.
okay.
I got a credit card that same day that I got hired.
Oh man.
I went and bought me a Ralph Lauren polo shirt. I had my Levi's and my pink socks and you know, but I didn't know anything about credit. I just knew I graduated, I got a job, they offered it, took
Mhm.
it. It catches up with you.
It does.
So, yeah. So once again, in our community, and again, it affects everybody. But I've just noticed just the lack of education, and
Yeah.
then it's a domino effect.
Mhm.
Then we go into businesses, we'll pay full price at point A, but then you come over to point B, and you want to Jew the price down.
Mhm.
You want to backdoor something, and I'm still baffled as to how that got put on us, how we grab that and take ownership of it.
Well, a lot of that is really, we have looked at how it has been portrayed in television and in movies and in
Hmm.
music,
Hmm.
and that has been portrayed, and even in social media,
Hmm.
in some aspects, that has been portrayed as being cool. That has been
Hmm.
portrayed as being okay. That is, and I said this a while back, and it uh, actually generated some discussion among some of the people on my Facebook friends list. I said that one of the we there are a lot of things, particularly within our culture, that we have been conditioned to believe are okay, and they're
Hmm.
really not. Um, and if we really take the time to really step back and examine, and even from the standpoint of what we're talking about here, if we really took the time to step back and take a look at how we look at credit
Yes.
and how we look at finances, um, how we look at, and as you said, being more concerned with looking rich than actually being rich.
Hmm.
Being more concerned with looking well off instead of actually being financially healthy.
Hmm.
If we really took a look at a lot of our practices and really evaluated them, stepped outside of the lens of our culture, and even going beyond our culture, just going beyond the lens of what has been socially acceptable among everybody. And
Yes.
if we really stepped
Totally agree.
outside of that and really took a look at uh, what we do and why we do it, we would find that a lot of the ways that we look at finances, a lot of ways that we look at credit are simply not conducive to us getting to the goals that we've set for ourselves.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Uh, Let me ask the question about co-signing. I hear parents that, yeah, my daughter, my son just graduated, or they asked me to co-sign. When it comes to an adult co-signing for an adult,
Mhm.
what is your take on that?
Honestly, I would never um, co-sign. I always recommend never co-sign. Now, if
Okay.
it's a situation where uh, it really a lot of it depends on the situation
Okay.
and who's doing the co-signing. Now, for example, if you're talking about, let's say, you know, a cousin wants you to come and co-sign for something, I would never co-sign.
Hmm.
And the reason I would never co-sign is because in today's volatile financial world, you co-sign something and that goes wrong, that reflects on your credit. So you have to be really, really careful about co-signing. And even if you're co-signing for a son or daughter,
Hmm.
you have to really be willing to take on that debt and be prepared to take on that debt should you choose to co-sign. Now,
Hmm.
the reason I say it depends on the circumstance, as you mentioned, a parent, co-signing for a son or a daughter. A
Okay.
lot of times, the reason why that happens is, the son or daughter is graduating high school, they're getting ready to
Hmm.
go into college. They're trying to help, the child establish credit. Well,
Hmm.
again, because so much has changed within the last several years, we now have more options
Hmm.
that a parent can do without having to co-sign a loan or a car loan or anything like that.
Hmm.
There are ways that parents can help their children begin to build and establish credit without putting themselves in financial jeopardy.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Uh, and I think that's probably most of the problem is there's so much out there that if we did know, these issues probably wouldn't exist. So, with that being said, in the church community, in the Black church
Hmm.
community, do you think there needs to be more emphasis tied in to, uh, let's say, uh, life experiences, how we live
Hmm.
life, and how we need to do certain things? Uh,
Absolutely.
okay.
I 100% uh, advocate that. In fact, part of what I do is I actually do seminars, free seminars for churches, ministry groups, business groups, et cetera, because life experience is one of the greatest teachers
Hmm.
that you can have. And truth be told, life experience, I have prevented from making a lot of mistakes because of other people's life experiences.
Hmm.
And so I am an advocate of that. I think there needs to be more uh, of in today's and particularly in the Black church, there needs to be more sharing of experiences from real life experiences on how to have healthy finances, how
Hmm.
to build a healthy credit profile. Because again, as you have said earlier, there a lot of this is not taught in our
Hmm.
community.
Hmm.
Um, Basically, most people um, in the Black community, if they're told anything about credit, here's what we're told: pay your bills on time, you'll have good credit.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
that's what we're told. That's the extent of what we're told. Well, the truth of the matter is, you can pay your bills and pay your bills on time and still not have excellent credit.
Wow.
Now, you won't necessarily have bad credit,
Hmm.
but you can pay your bills and pay your bills on time and still not have excellent credit. You can pay your bills on time and still not have good enough credit to get a house loan, a car loan, things of that nature. So it's those kinds of things that we have to begin to unlearn in our community,
Hmm.
to get the right information to be able to. Because the thing that we have to understand, particularly in our community, is this: everything works by systems.
Hmm.
It is a
Exactly.
system. Credit is a system. Everything works by system. Your car works by a system. Your clock works by a system. Your body works by a system. An environment is a system, ecosystem. Everything works by systems. And if you learn and understand the systems, then you know how to be successful. And our challenge in the African American community is that because we started out not
Mhm.
having access to this information, we have used it as an excuse to remain ignorant. And now today we have no excuse because that information is now readily available to us, if nowhere else, by other black people in our community who are willing to give us this information.
Yes. Can you briefly give us a kind of a roadmap to how do you go about establishing good credit? Uh, I mean, because is all credit good credit, or is there some credit you don't want, or certain credit you want to start with to build to higher? And when I'm saying that, I'm saying some people will start off with let me get a car first, or I'm gonna get a house first, or I'm going to go and get a department store credit card first. Is there a certain roadmap that leads to doing that?
Absolutely. I would say if you're starting out and you're trying to establish credit, the first thing I would say to anyone who is looking to establish good credit is this. First of all, I will say pay your bills and pay your
Hmm.
bills on time.
Hmm.
There are a lot of things that can be done to help credit and to supplement credit, but the one thing we cannot do is pay your bills for you.
Hmm.
Pay your bills on time. That is a good place to start to build credit. And the reason why I say that is because 35% of your credit score, the biggest chunk of your credit score, is your on time payment history.
Hmm.
So if you get in a habit of making sure that you pay your bills and pay your bills on time, that is a good place to start as far as establishing credit. Now, I would say that if you're going to buy a house and a car eventually and all that,
Hmm.
first of all, I would say this: buy your house first. Okay. Buy your house first. Don't buy a car until about 6 to 8 months after you've bought the house.
Oh wow. Okay.
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 Buy your car. And I would actually say, if you can, wait 12 months. Because, and one of the reasons why I say that is because um, one of the things that impacts your credit, 10% of your credit is your credit inquiries. You don't want to have too many inquiries into your credit in a 12-month span. So I always tell people wait about 8 to 12 months after you've purchased your house. Let
Hmm.
your house get on your credit and get some good months in where is reported positive payments, on time payments on your house. That will help build your credit up and make it easier for you to get a car.
Okay.
So just knowing when to purchase certain things. But starting off, pay your bills on time. Uh, another thing that I would say is pull your credit reports.
Okay.
And now, the credit bureaus are now allowing you to pay through. I believe it's what is that website? It escapes me. Free credit report
Okay. Okay.
com. Freecreditreport.com. You can actually go to free credit report. You can also go to
Okay.
annualcreditreport.com. And the bureaus will allow you to pull your credit report. Usually you can pull it once a year. But the
Okay.
bureaus are now allowing you to pull it every month until April of next year.
Okay.
So pull your credit reports, look at your credit reports, do it often. Do it as often as you can. Monitor your credit reports and make sure that nothing is showing up on your credit reports that you don't recognize. The FTC has did a study and found that one in every four adults in America have an error on their credit report that is probably costing them money and they don't know it.
Oh wow.
I I see people all the time. I look at credit reports all the time, and you would be amazed at the stuff that is on people's credit reports that they don't know is there. For example, I had a client who 2 years ago, one of her credit card companies reported her credit card payment late 3 months before the month actually got here.
Oh wow.
Literally reported. Let's see. This was I was looking at a report. This was last year. This is a year ago actually.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, In 2018, one of her credit card companies reported her May 2018 payment late in February of 2018. And because she had not looked at her credit reports, she didn't know that that had happened.
Right, right.
Now, a late payment affects your credit score for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
For
Okay,
7 years. She had paid that payment on time, but the credit card company had reported it late.
okay.
So she was dealing with her credit score being impacted for almost 2 years before she knew it was there. And she only knew it was there because I looked at her reports and began to compare things and noticed that something was off. That's part of the service that we provide is aside from credit monitoring, we actually will go through your credit reports with a fine-tooth comb, and we will look at how is it listed in TransUnion? How is it listed in Experian? How is it listed in Equifax? Are they listed this? Is it listed the same way in all three bureaus? Is the credit type the same? Is the amount of payments, the amount that you owe, is all of that the same? If any of that is different, if excuse me, I didn't
Oh,
know
that's
that
fine.
was coming.
That's fine.
Um, but if any of that is different, then we dispute that. But a lot of people don't realize that they have things popping up on their credit report that is actually hurting their score. And so they're
Hmm.
thinking, I got to do all this stuff to build up my credit. And they don't realize they're playing from behind already.
Mm.
And so that's another thing that I would say um, to help establish your good credit. Couple other quick things that I will say.
Yes,
One, Experian has something called Experian Boost,
I have
and
that. I have that on mine.
and I have it and I use it and I encourage everyone to use Experian Boost. For those that may not know what Experian Boost is, if you pay your cell phone out of your bank account, if you have streaming TV, most streaming TV services are now covered. If you pay your utilities, if you pay your cell phone, if you pay your home internet out of your bank account, you can actually input your information in Experian Boost. Experian Boost will take a look. And if you have paid any of these things, your
Hmm.
Netflix can now be used, your Apple TV can now be used, your Hulu and Disney Plus can now be used. If you've paid any of these things at least 3 times in the last 6 months, Experian takes those payments and counts them as positive payments and it boosts your credit score. Why is that important? Because we mentioned earlier, on time payments, positive payments, 35% of your credit score. It is the biggest chunk of your credit score.
Okay.
And so, anyone that has not used Experian Boost yet, it is free to use. Log into your Experian and get your Experian Boost. If you don't have an Experian account, get a free Experian account. I would recommend don't go straight through Experian, go through freecreditscore.com. Go through
Hmm.
freecreditscore.com. And the reason I say that is because if you go straight through Experian, you can get your credit report for free, but you may not be able to see your FICO score for free.
Hmm.
In freecreditscore.com, you can see your credit report and your FICO score for free. And then you can use Experian Boost from there. The other thing that I will say quickly is um, we were talking about parents co-signing for
Hmm.
children and established children. What a great alternative to that is something called Self. It used to be called Self Lender. It's now called Self.
Okay.
You can actually start a Self account. It is backed by one of the most reliable, secure banks in America.
Hmm.
If you start an account, basically what it does is um, if you pay, I think the lowest one was like $500 or something like that.
Hmm.
It was like $43, $44 a month. If you pay the $44 a month for 12 months, it all goes into a savings account.
Oh,
At the end of that 12 months, you get all of that money back plus 4% interest.
oh, wow.
And what that does is it establishes 12 months of positive payment history, which again is the biggest chunk of your credit score, which causes your score to increase.
Wow. Wow. Uh, Before I let you go, uh, please let everybody know how they can get in touch with you, uh, uh, um, the services that you offer, um, the floor is yours.
Thank
Let
you.
let us know.
Um, I am, for those of you that don't know, I am the founder of PRL Credit Solutions. You can reach us at prlcreditsolutions.com. prlcreditsolutions.com. You can also reach us on Facebook at PRL Credit Solutions. We're also on Instagram as well. You can go to the Facebook PRL Credit Solutions Facebook page. You can click on the Book Now button and schedule a free appointment with me, and I'll sit down with you and we'll talk about your credit and we'll talk about how we can help you build a better credit profile. I offer credit counseling, which credit repair is part of the package. So we will talk to you about what needs to happen in order to be able to build your credit.
Mhm.
And give you information, tools, and tips and resources to help you take control of your own credit future. And we will partner with you to do so. So go to prlcreditsolutions.com, go to the PRL Credit Solutions Facebook page, click on the Book Now button, and schedule your free appointment. We have slots available. You can schedule a free appointment, and we will sit down with you. We'll take a look at your credit situation, and we will talk about how to help you build a better credit profile. The basically, in a nutshell, the path and the process goes like this. We send you some paperwork, you fill out the paperwork, send it back to us. We do what's called a credit analysis, where we pull all three credit reports. We will go through them with a fine tooth comb, and we will prepare an actual report that I will send to you,
Mhm.
that will tell you, here's where you are, here's where you said you want to be, and here's the roadmap on how to get there. Here's where step one, step two, step three, and we're going to walk through this process for 6 months, 8 months, or 12 months, depending on the program that you select. And we will give you monthly updates on how things are going, as well as other updates from time to time. If we happen to see, for example, we notice your experience score goes up 11 points, we'll probably send you a text or something that says, congratulations, we noticed your score went up. And so it's a very open and transparent process. And we want it to be open and transparent because we want you to know not just what is happening, but why it's happening, so that you can be empowered to take control of your own credit future.
Well, Mr. Paul Lester, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This is helping me so much. And my goal is, if we can just help one person, if we can just help one person by doing this, we've achieved something. So I
Listen,
want to,
in that same spirit, I'm with you. I am on a mission to raise the average credit score of the city of Indianapolis above that of the national average, even above that of the state average. And so that's kind of my personal mission. We definitely, and it's like you said, if we, you know the next person, if we can educate the next person and educate the next person, then we'll be well on our way to empowering our community to be financially stable and healthy, and be able to enjoy life better.
well, I'm giving you a key to the front door. Just hit me up if you want to come back, and we'll do this again, man. We'll
Thank
do
you
this.
so much. Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you, sir.